thank you, Coach, for such a good opportunity to meet every one of you and have the opportunity to speak about Alibaba Cloud's applications in AI and IoT. For those of you who is not yet familiar with Alibaba Cloud, Alibaba Cloud comes from the Alibaba Group. Alibaba Group is now one of the world's leading retail groups, and we are listed in New York Stock Exchange. We are probably about world's seventh or sixth biggest company. What we are doing in Alibaba is we build an ecosystem, including the core commerce where we are coming from. Doing the online trading platform, doing the retailing in the B2B, B2C, and C2C, etc. We build this platform to allow traders, all the sellers and buyers from all over the world to connect to each other and to trade freely. While we build this great platform, we also create a lot of data silos during the process because different business unit has been growing over the last 18 years of Alibaba's history, such as B2B business, C2C business. They all come up and they have a mission to achieve their KPIs to boost their customer bases. Their customer has been accumulated in the platform, but they are using different platforms and they are using their own technologies. So essentially the customer's data is not talking to each other. For example, if I am an individual is trading at a C2C platform like eBay, like Alibaba platform, and I as a seller also trade at the B2C platform, such as Amazon-like platform, then Alibaba as a group, I don't know, I am doing the same thing, So that creates a lot of a problem in business innovation, in terms of data consistency. So we put a lot of effort in the process to build a generic platform, which is the birth of Alibaba Cloud. So we use Alibaba Cloud as a generic computing platform to solve the problem of unified data presentation, data storage, and communication and computing to serve all those needs for all those BUs. So gladly, this has been a success. It was done in about 2009. The project was started in 2009, and that's the birth of Alibaba Cloud. And we have been quite early in the cloud computing, a business, which is about 3 years after AWS, and about 4 years before Azure and Google. They follow suit. So Alibaba Cloud has since developed quite rapidly. We are hugely successful in China, and we have been coming into the international play about 3 years ago. If there's one showcase, I would say, in Alibaba Cloud, it probably will be the Double 11 Shopping Festival. As maybe you have already know about Double 11 Shopping Festival. It was a one-day shopping festival started at 0000 of November the 11th. On that day, all the sellers on Alibaba platform will drop their prices, and you will expect the people from all over the world rushing into our platform and hit the buy button. So this is a number from last year. So in last year, the peak order, which happened within 5 minutes of the midnight of the November the 11th. So the order number is 325,000 per second, and we made the payment, which based on Alibaba Cloud is about 250,000 per second. And we created about 812 million orders in that day, and 1.5 billion transactions happened on that day. So with this staggering number, which is probably the world's biggest stress test ever conducted, so Alibaba Cloud is proudly supporting all those transactions. I think one thing I want to highlight, although it's not specifically about IoT, but it's about this number. This year in China, about 90% of orders is done via mobile. So that gives you quite a big indication, how the people's shopping behavior has actually changed over the years. They are now not doing, the transactions online using the computer, but instead they use the apps more and more often, and they conduct those shoppings online via their mobile. So if you are familiar with AWS, you are probably familiar with this diagram as well. So if you that's probably a red apple to a green apple. That's an Alibaba Cloud portfolio. I wouldn't go through with it, but we do have an IoT suite which is available to create the connectivities from the IoT devices wherever or however it is. If it's as long as it's compliant to the ICA standard, we give you a secure connection from the device to the platform. So when we talk about IoT, we talk about a lot of the ecosystem who are playing in this field. In general, we talk about the device makers. You make those smart devices, you make that sensors, and you talk about connectivity providers. Typically, they are telcos or smaller vendors based on unlicensed spectrums. Also, the platform providers. Alibaba Cloud is one of the platform providers in this whole ecosystem. And based on these platforms, you can develop verticals like, for example, you are in the manufacturing field, you are in the medical field, etc. And the different SIs, SVs works in this ecosystem to provide solutions, to provide integration services. So from the architectural point of view, this Alibaba Cloud IoT solutions, on the right-hand side, it is the device connectivity, where we are we support the ICA standard devices to give you a secure connectivity from the devices to the Alibaba Cloud platform via the SDK, and the IoT suite, which is actually located in the cloud side, to give that's the endpoint, acting as an endpoint. All those data comes into when the data comes into our platform, it will go through our data hub, and it's going to be fed into different compute engines, whether it's a stream compute, whether it's a functional compute, whether it's offline computing. We call it max compute for offline processing. The data comes in here, and we need to analyze it, and we need to interact with it. So you have the AI applications, you can do the speech recognition, you can do image recognition for further processing. And after all those processing, there's even further industry or vertical specific applications, such as precision marketing services, such as the mobile data analytics, which will be provided and feedback to the end user. Basically, what Alibaba is doing with AI and IoT, we are all vertical aligned. What we are trying to do is to see how our practice, how our AI and IoT technology can work with the industries together to create a business value. As Yari has just pointed out, how about the hype of how about the hype of AI? Are they actually solving your problem? Are they actually creating business value for your company? I think that's the point that everybody here is concerned about, or want to know more about. Alibaba's approach is actually is actually trying to integrate our solutions together with the industry. So that's why we create a set of brains. So we call it industry brain, we call it aviation brain, we call it city brain. So some of you probably have already heard about it. One of the successful case is actually our city brain, and which is recently launched in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur. So by connecting together with thousands of IoT devices, sensors, road traffic sensors, the monitors, cameras from all over the city, we actually can optimize the traffic from the road of the city by analyzing the data comes in and controlling the signal, the traffic signal of each of the junctions. We can optimize these road conditions. In Hangzhou, we improved the traffic condition by 15%. Increased the road traffic speed by 15%, and more importantly, we improved the emergency vehicle arrival. We cut it to 50% of its arrival time. So that's one example of actually using the IoT, actually using the AI into the verticals, into these industries. Another example is this manufacturing brain. So in the industry brain, what we do is actually we have our IoT experts, our AI experts, our data scientists together, working with the industry, with the manufacturers. They actually go to their factories, work with their workers and managers, understand how the system works, understand how the MES, MES, not math, not MES, MESS, but MES, manufacturing execution system, how the MES works, and we extract data from those systems, try to analyze historical data. It's typically gigabytes or tens of gigabytes or even terabytes of data accumulated over these years. And we will look at this data and we will analyze the correlation between this data. So the example I put here is actually a case from GCL. The GCL is one of the world's leading solar panel cutting companies, solar panel manufacturing companies. So they work in the solar. They have about 2,000 to 3,000 solar panel cutting slicers, and they are already doing precision manufacturing by giving a better yield rate. Right? So when they produce a solar panel, they use the slicers to cut them into different pieces, and that's a very delicate process. If there's anything goes wrong, the yield rate will drop, and which means grade A product which can sell at 5 yuan will drop significantly to probably 0.6 yuan. So it's basically 90% of value loss. Right? So they are doing the precision manufacturing to give a better yield rate on the grade A products. They are doing pretty well. At about 87% already. So but they are not stopping at that because they want to improve. So we step in, and Alibaba Cloud comes together with their engineers, with their managers, and look at their MES system, and look at their production line, actually. So we found out that each of the sensors, each of the slicers have about 10 plus sensors, right? So monitoring different aspects of the data. For example, the density of the mortar. For example, the strength of the steel cable, and temperatures, etc., etc. So those data has been accumulated over the years, but it has not been put into use. The reason are two. One, the data set is huge. It has been running over years, and it needs a lot of the computing power to process. But as a traditional manufacturer, they don't have the capability or to run through this data of different combinations, as there are different variations, and they also need expertise, help to analyze this data and give them a formula or an optimized solution. So we work together with them, and we produce. So that's what we do. First of all, we break these physical data silos, which are coming from different data sensors, and massage this data to have this data to be structured and to be analyzed in a meaningful way. And then we put them into a general data warehouse, into a general data warehouse, and we from that we can do machine learning, right? So in machine learning, we'll build this knowledge map. We'll create a model, a statistical model, and to analyze this data, and then we finally feed it into the neural network, and then we can discover, what's the best output of those parameters that I just mentioned can contribute to the manufacturing. There were five aspects that we actually looked into. The first one is worker. So how those people works together, right? And the second one is the machines. How these machines, the sensors, works together. The third one is raw data, is raw material. What's the condition of the material? The third one is manufacturing process. Is there any process that can be optimized in this process? The last one is the environment. Is the environment is contributing to this manufacturing process? So those are the basic five key factors will contribute to the yield rate. Those are the five key areas we look for optimization. And actually, in the as a result of this project, we didn't improve their yield rate by 10% because they are already doing the precision manufacturing. They are already doing a good job. But we gave them 1% of yield rate boost. But that 1% yield rate boost gave them 10 million savings or direct profit injection into their business. That actually is the perfect case for the IoT together with AI can be applied to the industry, can be applied to your business, which will directly convert it into dollars in your business. So this basically gives you the illustration of how it was done. First of all, as you can see, that's actually one of the slicers. So when a silicon tablet was produced, there was a slicer to cut it into different pieces. And during this process, the cutting machine will have a lot of IoTs. Will have a lot of the sensors sending those monitoring data into the MES system, and those MES system will aggregate those data, and also in the testing cases, in the testing machines, they will also provide data to the MES system as well. So how does Alibaba Cloud help? In the data platform, we extract those historical data into our Max Compute, which is the offline computing platform, to do data analytics. And in the real-time data, we also extract those data feeds into our data hub, feed into our stream compute platform.
A question here. So was it already somehow handled the data on the local servers before send it out to the cloud? Did you do some kind of clean up already?
Yes, so the data needs to be, we say, massaged, but because we not all of this data can be utilized, but they need to be normalized. They need to be cleared out before it was put into use. Yes. So before this historical data was put into, there is filtering process need to be done. So on the right, on this right-hand side, on my right-hand side, it was the offline data computing. Basically, it will create a statistical model and for the machine learning, and also on the left-hand side, when the real data comes in, this data will be fed into the same statistical model, and we will provide data intelligence out of it. So that's the success case of GCL. In this success case, we also build a dashboard for the managers or the higher executives to look into how much yield rate it has been producing today, and look into how it distributed into different slicers in different manufacturing lines, etc. So this actually is one of these monitoring screens. For each of these is a slicer. So one of these is a slicer. In those Chinese characters, it basically tells you about the monitoring status for the density of the mortar, for the water temperature, for the pressure, etc., etc. So all these slicers will be monitored. So those key parameters will be extracted, and you can see when there's a problem, it will be highlighted quite in the real time. So apart from the GCL case, which is in the solar panel, we have been developing other verticals, including this Z-side rubber. Z-side rubber is basically producing rubber, one of the big rubber producers in China, and they mix the rubber from the different manufacturers. And Alibaba Cloud helped to produce or to predict the best mixture depending on where the material is coming from, to reduce the chance that it needs to be redo. So it will in the other result, it helps to reduce the energy consumption from the manufacturer. And another example is probably I can mention is Dunnan. Dunnan is a wind turbine or a wind farm producer in China, and it manufactures and runs thousands of wind turbines across the country. So previously, what it does, as you can imagine, all those wind turbines are in very rural areas, maybe on the mountains, or near to the sea where people are hard to get. So when there's a fault, the wind turbine will be shut down, and there will be a process for the people to come over and to shut down the whole site and the whole wind turbine, and to get it replaced and fixed, which actually is a cost to production. So what we do is we stepped in, and by analyzing the sensors, by looking at the data from the sensors of these each of the wind turbines, monitoring, for example, the vibration rate, monitoring the temperature of these wind turbines, we can actually build a model to predict the failure of this wind turbine, so that we can do a small replacement instead of shutting down the whole wind turbine, and we can have a better vision about the whole site without the people's intervene, without people actually physically being there and to inspect those wind turbines. So that also contributes hugely in terms of cost of labor and saves and increase of the productivity. So with that, I'm concluding my presentation, which is the IoT application together with a data-driven approach in Alibaba. Many people ask me, what's your view in AI? Will AI solve everything? My view, also Alibaba's view, is that general AI, the strong AI, is yet to come. There's not a super brain to solve the problem for all. But what we can do now is to apply the knowledge that we have already learned from AI. And what we do is to get those data that's integrated from those sensors, from the IoT devices, to put it into practical use. Use our AI to help, to contribute to verticals, to contribute to your business problem, to solve your business problem. That's what we can do today. Thank you very much.